All right, and let's get this. Good morning, trade pros. Welcome to the morning market update for this beautiful Tuesday, September 24th, 2019. We have a full house, including Justin. Justin's in today. Marky, Vic, Azalea. It's great. I love it in the office full. It's more fun. It's more fun that way. Today we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, including China-U.S. trade relationship, Trump at the UN Assembly today, Federal Reserve doing another repo, and the UK Supreme Court and Bojo. And then how the world's wealthiest people are, what they're doing with their money. Very interesting. So let's get started because we got a lot to cover. The big news overnight is that Chinese authorities granted companies waivers to buy between 2 and 3 million tons of U.S. soybeans without being subject to retaliatory tariffs. So it's kind of like a gift or a small action of appreciation from China to the U.S. ahead of their potential trade talks coming up. All right. Next week, there's a meeting scheduled in Washington, and then there's a visit by China's Vice Premier Liu He to America next month for higher level talks. So the trade talks are progressing once again. We know how this has ended before. This time it may be different. There may be some kind of crazy, awesome trade deal that comes out, and the hopes aren't very high for that. However, it's a possibility. All right, agriculture purchases are a key pressure point in negotiations for Donald Trump. He publicly questioned U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin yesterday over a decision to cancel a Chinese delegation visit to a U.S. farm last week. He basically said, I want them to buy farm products. Why the heck did you cancel their visit out there? All right, Steve Mnuchin did that. Trump questioned him. So it's interesting. We now know that one of the sticking points, and we have known, is ag products being exported to China. That's one of the big pieces of this puzzle. What would make Donald Trump happy? China's given a little bit of that. We're giving them a taste of it on this 2 to 3 million ton purchase to sort of sweeten the deal and the opportunity for both sides. All right, so this is a conciliatory tone. This is positive, and it's bullish news flowing into the market. All right, Donald Trump today is also set to speak at the UN General Assembly debate. I don't have the time. It's unconfirmed at this point, but the debate starts at 8 a.m. It has already started for 1 hour. Listen to your news squawk for developments. At any moment, there could be some commentary being made that becomes a market-moving event. So today, even though there isn't anything huge on the calendar, there is the possibility of a Donald Trump squawk or a tweet or any kind of action or a speech that gets picked up by the media, and that could become a massive market mover depending on what he says. So today, you have to be trading with a news service. Twitter's not good enough. You need something to read it out to you audibly. We use Trade the News. There's also Rant Squawk. These services come at a cost. But that's a service that I love paying for because every single year that I've paid for Trade the News, it's been a long time I've been paying for it, I've made my money back tenfold on that annually just based off of one news tweet or one news event. All right. It's one thing in today's market you can't trade without, unfortunately. All right. In addition, the Federal Reserve added $49.7 billion of liquidity to the financial system yesterday on Monday. They did that through an overnight repo or a repurchase agreement. This has been making news, and I still don't hear much of it in the mainstream news. You really have to follow the right sources to get this information. But the fact the banking system needs liquidity is a little bit of a sign of trouble here for the global economy. It's not something massive that everyone should lose sleep over, and it's the first time they've been doing these repos over a decade, and they continue. Today we're seeing another one. We have a 14-day repo at 8 a.m. that just went, and then we have another one for an overnight repo. So the 14 days is the first one in a long time that stretches multiple days. We're injecting liquidity for a 2-week period as the Fed is concerned that they're losing control of interest rate mechanisms and liquidity is drying up at the banks. Their capital reserve ratios aren't being satisfied, so they need to boost that by providing more capital. How? They buy bonds from these banks. They give me your bonds, here's some cash in exchange. All right, the UK Supreme Court today, somebody's not using crisp. Hang on, it's very distracting here. Massive echo in the back. Who could that be? Vicky, are you not using crisp? Oh, that's weird. Or a massive echo. Okay, it's cool. So the UK Supreme Court inflicted an unprecedented legal defeat for Bojo, Boris Johnson from the UK. And the decision to basically what the court said in the UK is that his decision to suspend Parliament was unlawful, which helps MPs looking for a delay of this Brexit or looking to prevent a no-deal Brexit. Right? That's the big thing here that's worrying the markets. Now the parliament must decide what happens next. They should meet as soon as possible, the court said. And on that news, political editor of The Sun tweets that Prime Minister will not resign. He will fly home tonight. And after UN speech this evening, Johnson will also hold a conference call with the cabinet today. So they are planning to schedule talks. He's not resigning. This decision was held to be unlawful. They now have to decide how they proceed forward. If there's any one thing that the UK government and parliament has a hard time doing, is deciding things together. All right. So I expect this to be the beginning of a new battle. Who knows what's going to happen? But for the time being, the pound is up about 0.4%, and it's pretty strong. Last but not least, on today's morning market update, and this is cool news. You don't get a lot of this information very often. The world's wealthiest families are stockpiling cash, not gold, not equities. They're building up cash reserves. Why are they building up cash reserves? It's because the majority of them expect to see the economy enter into a recession by 2020 or into 2020. All right. That's according to UBS's Global Family Office report. About 42% of family offices said they're raising cash reserves and accumulating cash stockpiles. Why is that? In a recession, the best instrument you could have is cash. It's not gold, it's not silver, it's not guns, bullets, none of that stuff. It's cash, because cash leads to being able to take advantage of opportunity. In a recession, the reason markets sell off is there's all this opportunity and abundance of it around you, but no one has the money to do anything about it because they're taking losses and flush invested in equity markets. All right, that's a challenge. That's why recession self-propagates forward. 42% of the family offices said that they're holding on to cash and building their cash reserves. How much wealth do these people have? Firms that are called family offices manage around $5.9 trillion. It's a lot of money. And those that answered the survey had an average of $917 million under management. A family office basically is a money manager managing wealth privately for a small group of individuals who have family wealth. This has been a big transition into this space for a long, long time now, almost a decade. Hedge funds are going to family office style structures for taxation purposes, and also they don't want to deal with investors. They want to deal with just a few who have a lot of wealth rather than a ton of investors with the minimum contribution amounts. All right, that's an interesting report. They're stockpiling cash. And it doesn't mean that there's going to be a recession. It just means that some of the most wealthiest people are worried about it and getting prepared for it. All right, in today's markets, Japan's flat. Hong Kong's up 0.2. China's up 0.3%. India is flat as well. In Europe at midday, London's down 0.3. Paris is up the same amount. Frankfurt's up 0.2. In the U.S., Dow and S&P up 0.3%. NASDAQ up 0.4. Seeing a little bit of a sell-off, though, from overnight highs at the moment. We're coming back down into the overnight low and previous day close. Pretty tight overnight structure. Typically, we've seen a big rally in overnight and then a slowdown in U.S. markets. I think today, because we're having consolidation overnight, we could have a pretty significant move on the U.S. market. All right, gold prices are hanging near their overnight lows, below their open price. All right, oil prices stabilizing around overnight lows as well. And Bitcoin's down another 2.2% today, down to 9,700. Bitcoin had a bit of a flash crash yesterday. Things dropped very fast and recouped. But today they're down once again, 2.2%. In today's economic events, I didn't have time to add the first two, so I'll talk about it in the room with our trade pros. But we had the S&P's Case-Shiller Home Price Index, and we also had the FHFA Housing Price Index and Redbook Chain Store Sales. All right, but at 10 a.m., we have consumer confidence coming up, Richmond Fed manufacturing survey. Both those are pretty big. Then at 1 p.m., results of a $40 billion two-year note auction. And also remember, the UN Assembly debate today goes on all day. Donald Trump's scheduled to speak at some point, and I think that's going to happen slightly after the European close, around 11:30. All right, so you got data top of the hour. We have consolidation so far, and I'll give you the levels in the trading room, but if we could crack the overnight highs, we could have a move higher to the 30-20 level, 30-30 on the ES, S&P 500 futures. And if we get below the overnight low in previous days close, we're probably going to get down to these mid to low 90s. All right, that's what I'm looking at. A little bit of a sideways range, and we're going to have to trade it. We're going to see what happens. All right, send you guys love, joy, and happiness. Hope you enjoyed today's update. I got to go. Open up the trading room. Appreciate you all. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Manage your risk, trade like a trade pro. Goodbye. All right, trade pros, allow me to end this YouTube stream. Morning, Talib, Bernard, Slim Jim, George Michael, William Craig as well on YouTube. Goodbye, guys. Have a great day.